It seems to have become a uniform, hasn't it? The official haircut for women of a certain age. We see it everywhere, and we dread it. You can almost feel it before it happens. That particular, sharp smell of the salon, the cold metal of the scissors against your neck, and the quiet fear that you'll walk out with the very cut you swore you'd never get. It's the same tidy bob that's supposed to lift us, but somehow always makes us feel like we're disappearing. And let's be honest, so many women over 60 have had this experience. You want a change, something lighter, but you leave the salon looking more tired than when you walked in. So if you've ever left the salon thinking, that's not quite me anymore, I hope you'll stay with me. And if this kind of gentle, useful insight helps, don't forget to subscribe. Here's what I've come to believe after too many of those salon visits. Style after 60 isn't about fashion. It's about architecture. It's not about trying to look younger. It's about building something that fits who you are now. Your shape, your texture, your presence. For years, I thought my face was just getting rounder with age. I blamed a few extra pounds, hormones, lack of sleep, take your pick. But then I came across a wonderfully clear explanation from a stylist, and it changed the way I look at my reflection entirely. He pointed out a simple truth that most older women never hear, and it has nothing to do with diet or exercise. Understanding this one distinction is the key to picking a bob that flatters, not flattens. It's the first thing we need to get right, and once you hear it, you won't look at your own face the same way again. Let's start there, and later, I'll show you the one cut detail that's ruining most bobs and how to fix it in 10 seconds. Here's the great deception. It's a quiet panic, isn't it? You catch your reflection when you're not prepared. In the side of a toaster, a shop window, or under those awful department store lights. And you think, my goodness, my face is getting so full. We blame a few extra pounds, or just aging in general. And for women over 60, that explanation feels familiar, expected even. But then I heard a stylist explain something that stopped me cold. And once he said it, I couldn't unsee it. It's not fullness, he said, it's gravity. As we age, our skin loses some of its elasticity. Things begin to gently but consistently settle downward. That settling adds visual weight to the lower half of our face, which makes the top half seem flatter by comparison. So it's not that your face is fuller, it's that the balance has shifted. And that shift draws the eye down, making you look more tired even when you're not. That was the moment it clicked for me. The real challenge isn't hiding your face, it's redirecting the eye. That's what a good bob haircut for older women actually does. It doesn't try to erase the years. It works against gravity, with structure, with intention. The right shape draws the eye back up, toward the cheekbones, the eyes, the place where energy lives. And that's where we begin. Because once you understand what's really changing, you stop chasing the wrong fix. Up next, we'll look at the most misunderstood face shape of all, and why the right cut can take your face from puffed to perfectly balanced without losing a single inch of length. Let's start with the round face. My friend Brenda from our old book club always used to say, "Carol, any bob just makes my face look like a dinner plate." She had those soft, gentle features, not much definition at the jawline, and every chin-length cut just seemed to emphasize the width. But the truth is, the right bob for round faces over 60 doesn't add to the roundness, it slices right through it. The solution is often an angled or asymmetrical bob. By keeping the back shorter and letting the front pieces fall just past the chin, you create a diagonal line, one that draws the eye downward without dragging the face down. It's a powerful little illusion. You're not shrinking the face. You're stretching the line. And Brenda? She finally found a version of the cut that made her feel like her cheekbones had returned from early retirement. But what if your issue isn't softness, but sharpness? I was chatting with a woman at the farmer's market last fall. I still remember the crisp smell of apples in the air. She had a strong, square jawline. Classic. Beautiful. But she said most bobs made her look, in her words, like a Lego head. Her face had structure, but the wrong cut just hardened everything. For square faces, especially on women over 60, the key is to fight structure with softness. A wavy or layered bob makes all the difference. By letting gentle layers fall around the jawline, you break up the symmetry, relax the frame. And the bonus? These kinds of cuts grow out beautifully, never hitting that awkward stage by week 4. Now, some of us don't have too much width. We have too much contrast. A lovely woman named Jane, who used to volunteer at the library, had a classic heart-shaped face, wider at the forehead, tapering down to a narrow chin. She once told me, "Every short style I try makes me feel like a cartoon triangle." And I understood exactly what she meant. For women with heart-shaped faces over 60, chin length, or slightly longer bobs, what they now call lobs, are often the secret weapon. Why? Because they build out the bottom, right at the jawline, bringing balance where it's needed most. Think of it as adding a gentle base to your silhouette, like anchoring a floating frame. Jane told me she finally felt grounded in her own face again. And that's no small thing. But what if your face isn't wide at all? What if it's long? My niece, who's nearing 60 herself, has always had a beautifully long face. Elegant, sculpted. But she stayed away from shortcuts for years, afraid they'd make her look drawn. And to be fair, she was right. The wrong bob can turn a long face into a vertical billboard. The trick is to create a strong horizontal line. A chin-length blunt bob with bangs does just that. The bangs shorten the forehead. The blunt edge at the chin adds width where it's needed. Altogether, it recenters the whole face like building a bridge between features. Now, here's the surprise. The oval face, often called the universal face shape, comes with its own unique challenge. My sister Mary has one of those everything works faces, and she hates it. "If every bob suits me," she said, "how do I avoid looking like every other woman at the grocery store?" For women over 60 with oval faces, the risk isn't choosing wrong. It's choosing safe. Predictable, helmet-like. That's why the best fit isn't a shape, but a texture. A modern, textured bob with light layers and movement is perfect here. It keeps the cut alive. Soft, expressive, imperfect in all the right ways. It's the difference between a yearbook photo and a candid picture. Both show your face, but only one shows your energy. Mary finally chose a bob with just enough swing to make her feel like herself again, not just the default setting. And now that you've found the shape that works, there's one last detail. The unsung spot that makes or breaks almost every bob. We never see it in the mirror, but we feel it when we pull on a turtleneck or notice our hair starting to puff in the back. It's right here at the nape of the neck, and we'll talk about it next. We've talked about face shapes, But there's one detail almost no one discusses, and it makes or breaks how your bob actually lives on your head. It's right here, the nape of the neck. We don't see it, but we feel it, especially when we pull on a turtleneck, zip up a coat, or run our fingers through the back of our hair and sense that something's gone puffy. We've all been there. Your bob looked great for 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then it started to feel heavy, bulky, like it was growing outward instead of downward. And suddenly, the whole shape collapses. That's not you, that's the nape, or, more specifically, that's the bulk no one took out. The mistake? Leaving the neckline too thick. When the lower layers aren't shaped properly, they build a shelf, one that flips out, resists styling, and drags the whole cut down. A good stylist knows this. They'll taper the nape gently, sometimes with clippers, sometimes with texturizing shears, but always with intention. They call it beveling. You don't lose length. You just lift the entire silhouette from underneath. And that one change can double the lifespan of your haircut. Especially for older women with thicker hair at the neckline. This is the hidden adjustment that makes your bob stay elegant, not mushroomy. It's one of those quiet tricks that gives you back your power in the salon chair. Because the truth is, at this stage in life, we don't want high maintenance. We want high trust. And speaking of trust, let me tell you what happened when my friend Susan finally found a stylist who understood that. My friend Susan, the one with that lovely defined jawline, had been curling the ends of her bob under for years. She thought it helped frame her face, but deep down, she never really liked what she saw. It felt like putting a thick picture frame around something I didn't want to highlight, she once told me. Then her new stylist made one small suggestion. Just one. Instead of curling the ends under, she started using a curling iron to flick the front pieces away from her face. Gently, not a curl, just a soft bend. It barely looked styled, but it changed the whole energy. The cut no longer closed in on her jawline. It opened her face. It breathed. And for the first time, she said she saw herself not just the haircut. These are the things we learn, aren't they? Not from magazines, not from rules, but from each other, from living with our faces, and slowly, gently, learning how to honor them. So let me ask you, have you found a haircut that feels like you? Not the you from 20 years ago, but the you right now? Tell me a little about it in the comments. I truly read every one. And if this helped, feel free to subscribe. That's what this space is for real. Usable style for women who've grown into themselves. Next week, I'll show you the one accessory that took 10 years off my look without trying to. And no, it's not what you think.